welcome everyone to the latest episode of Sass and the Beard. We missed you all last week. We're so excited that you have decided, for those of you who are patiently waiting on us to start and messaging us.
Or not so patiently, yeah. Listen, anytime I post a time for when we're going to start,
within 15, 20 minutes.
there's an ish that is implied. And if you don't know that yet,
yeah. Don't
welcome to the team. 6 p.m. means 6-ish.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and don't forget to like our sponsors, Retro Roast, Dog Ear Books.
The reason I'll be working late because this caffeine hits so good.
And also the Plant Parlor, who sponsors our Golden Ass Award every week, or, ish week, where we get to, give out an award to the best ass.
The worst? The best? I don't know. Best of the worst.
It's neither here nor there. Kristen, all of the people want to know our opinion about how the eclipse events went in Russellville.
Well, I think you're going to have to tell them because basically I followed Governor Sarah Sanders' emergency warning about impending doom, and I sheltered in place. No, I'm just kidding. But I didn't come downtown because honestly, I thought, we've been hearing there's going to be these big crowds and stuff, but I really regretted it when I saw the glow in the dark dance party.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't in a condition to drive myself to the party, and so I had to skip it and stay home. I tried to talk some of our council members into coming to pick me up.
It would have been like a rave.
Right? It looked so fun. I just need us to repeat that.
It was a great event for the kids too. Like, how everybody's like, nothing for kids to do, and like, I agree. There are at times in our community, it's hard, especially if you're not like an outdoorsy kind of person, or if you don't want to go spend money at the eclipse, not at the aquatic center or the swim, like there are things to do, but most of them have to do with spending money.
Mm-hmm. Not enough of them have to do with the cha-cha slide.
Right. But what was cool was the DJ was like, if you're a millennial and you grew up in the 90s, you're going to love this playlist. And also your kids are going to love it because that's all coming back. So it was
true.
DJ CJ was on point. Downtown did a great job. Danielle Hausnick and her staff out there at Main Street, Russellville, just the whole weekend.
Yeah. Everybody that worked on it, the city, the A&P Commission with Chrissy Graham and her team, Megan and everybody, Danielle downtown. I mean, everybody, it would be great if people had showed up on Friday and been like here for the eclipse weekend. Right. I don't know that there was a lot of way to necessarily predict that, but I was really proud of Russellville. I think it went great. The eclipse was so cool.
Yes. The totality was awesome.
Yeah. I can see why people travel for it. Yeah. Like, I really did not get it, but then seeing it, I was like, this is kind of incredible. Like, you made a post, and it was the exact same thing I said to my kid about it. I was like, can you imagine if this had been years ago and it just like happened?
The whole world would have freaked out.
And you didn't know that it was
turned
coming.
The lights out. Yeah.
Right. You would have just been like, oh my God, the world's ending.
Yeah. And how many people would have looked at the sky, at the sun to be like, what's wrong? And like burned their retinas.
Okay. But did you read in advance that, like once it hit totality, you could take your glasses off and look? Did you do that? Okay. I know some people who didn't because they hadn't seen it because generally, most people who are reading that are not in the path of totality. Like you may be close, you may get even 90%, but there's never a minute where you can actually take them off and just look. And so I was really glad I read that because I didn't know that till about an hour before the eclipse that you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they started a countdown. If you were downtown, they had this huge like LED wall on the corners, and it had like the reports that NASA was doing. It was pushing videos about previous eclipses, and it was just a great connection to the eclipse. I thought having NASA here the work that the city did, Mayor Teague and his staff were just on point. Christie from AMP and like the whole crew, like you literally couldn't name enough people that just did an amazing job.
I'm excited to see, I know there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm looking forward to see what happens with like finance reports for the city and county to see if there is an impact on tax revenue. I think there will be.
Yeah, we should see it next month.
I think that'll be really great because we'll be able to quantify it and know, if it was or was not profitable.
A bust.
Right. And I mean, I think either way it went, it was such a positive, positive experience, positive coverage for the community. We're all over the news, Russellville, Arkansas, everywhere.
Anchors from CNN were here, anchors from NBC, ABC,
everywhere,
MSNBC, like the Weather Channel like was basically, mainlining Retro Roast Coffee all weekend.
Who can blame them? So anyways, well, good. I'm glad we got to chat about it. We spent 5 minutes on the eclipse and we don't have to talk about it again for 20 years.
But wait. So, because there's 20 years left until we talk about it,
okay,
I do want to say a few things.
Quickly.
Okay? Hey, this is my show, too. I want to talk about the eclipse.
But it's already over. And it's not politics.
This is about the political kind of... because there is a major concern in the community that it was a bust. And the politics around that are... our city spent too much money. Our city overprepared for this thing. Why? How could they believe that there were going to be 100,000 people? That was all the communication I saw on Friday and Saturday. And the thing is like the city had legitimate, real data that what was the reason that they made the decisions that they made. And what happened was the path of totality was within 2 hours of over 200 million people. Like most of the United States was within 2 hours of just driving distance to see it. Whereas 7 years ago, it was only like 50 million people that were in that same position.
I will say, I think it's important to note that, y'all don't like crunch these numbers and come up with them yourself. This is numbers that come down from the state,
federal
from economic
and state
development committees.
Yes.
And so, you have to do what you can with that information.
Right.
And I think I personally, and I'm a hater, even if it's you, I'm still a hater. I'll tell you when I think you guys have made a dumb decision, I think it was really good. Could it have been what we had hoped for and more people? Yes, but I'm definitely happy that we were over-prepared rather than under-prepared.
Yeah. We spent less money on the eclipse than we've spent on street lamps on specific neighborhood roads.
There that is.
So
But what are some of the other things we're talking about tonight besides the eclipse? I think we got a bunch of topics, but I'm only wearing one contact lens, so I can't read the agenda.
We saw a post, there are several local Facebook groups, and shout out to you guys that manage those groups because you deal with a lot of different discussions, and there are people on there, and so every time we kind of see a conversation on there, if we feel like it's merited or there's some confusion, we want to address it. And we saw one about the construction downtown, and about how why is it what's going on? Why are they tearing up all the concrete? Why are they tearing?
Right. Why are they putting new sidewalks in over by Old South? That's where Old South used to be.
Yes. So if you haven't seen the last year or two's city council meetings, that it's been a big topic of conversation. We had to redo the underground.
If you're not one of the 31 people that watches that streaming,
yes. So. All the underground utilities were moved underground in the downtown area to get rid of light poles and to get rid of just gross looking power lines.
Yeah.
And
it also prevents a lot of outages related to weather and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And our sewage system downtown was mandated by the EPA to be restored because it was a certain age. And we had a certain amount of time to comply with that. Mm-hmm. And we did. We're done. We're done with all of the utility work, all of the underground work, and now we're doing the streetscape work. So that process will take probably before the fall. I would imagine that they'll be done with the sidewalks by the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure we're going to do street overlay as well. They're going to get rid of the bricks on Main Street. I know that's like a huge point of contention for lots of people.
Hate them. I know everybody does, but I'm like the only person that doesn't hate
what
them.
I like about them is it causes people to slow down on Main Street because y'all be driving too fast.
We do be driving too fast, myself included.
Yeah.
Like, those bricks don't slow me down at all. They don't slow me down at all. I'm like, all the way across them. I don't care.
Every time a trailer goes over, it's like...
I did see a comment from Cindy saying, crypto issue at Moreland. We are going to be talking about crypto later on.
Yes, later in the show. Stay
we have
connected, Cindy. So like the downtown construction, while annoying at times, progress takes work and creates inconveniences, but it will be over and it will all look amazing. I mean, there's tens of millions of dollars, not just from the city, but from Citicorp and other utility companies have been spent on this project.
Yeah, and that's not all like from tax dollars. That's what you're saying. That's not all. That's not necessarily public spending or public tax dollars, but some of it is.
Some of it is the infrastructure bill that was passed by the federal government.
Yeah, it's federal
funding.
Money, yeah.
And some of it is economic development money, and some of it is streets and drainage money. So like, it is tax dollars.
Yeah.
But also some of the utilities have paid. They had to pay for their own labor. When it came to putting some of that stuff underground.
Yeah, I just asked because I know that people, like they see the bricks and they're like, dude, how many times are we going to redo these? How many times are we going to put money into this and then change it later? Right. And like, I get it. But some of this does come from federal funding for infrastructure. Some of it does come from private funding, things like that.
There's a lot of it that has grants attached to it, like future grants. Mm-hmm. So with like street lamps and street lights, like they're all going to be timed street crossings and ADA compliant. The little ribbed, crossings, so that if you can't see, you can feel the road as you're crossing the street.
That's good.
And they'll say walk or time, 10 seconds or whatever. Are
y'all gonna put up the walk things? Like, don't make me break the rules. Listen, I don't listen to those. I'm gonna walk when I want.
You cross the street when the LED white lights
with the little walkie person
walk.
Yeah, you know what, Nathan? I do what I want, and I cross the street when there aren't any cars coming, like a grown ass adult. I don't need the government to tell me what to do. I'm just kidding.
Jaywalker.
Just kidding. You're just kidding.
You jaywalker. Are they burying power lines on B Street?
I don't know, but later I'm gonna bury some tacos on B Street. That's what I'm about to do.
I mean, they were working on B Street access to utilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happening? What else we got on our list today, Nathan?
So now we need to talk about there was some school board drama.
Man, when is there not?
Well, it was like these we said some good stuff about them.
Actually, you know what? It's weird. And I told you we weren't going to talk about this, but now I'm going to talk about it just for a minute because I lied to you. Somebody sent me an article the other day about a charter school coming to Russellville, and I haven't really got to read about it yet, so I don't know the details. I can't talk about it, but it did.
Wait, you mean like charter schools that are going to be getting public tax dollars?
And that's the thing I want to talk about. Is because here's the thing: is
pay for
as much
utilities.
as we talk about how frustrated we get with the Russellville school board. Thank God there is at least a school board, unlike with these like charter and private schools where most of the time. Right, where most of the time it's a for-profit company receiving tax dollars for private education, and there is no elected school board. There is no public accountability to voters in that system. So as much as I complain about Russellville schools sometimes, as much as I complain about the school board.
Well, we get to complain.
I get to complain about the school. I complain about the school board. I have really very few, if any, complaints about the educators, the school, like what my son's experience in the school. I'm very, very pleased. And I want to point that out before we talk about the school board issue, because it really concerns me, the idea of revenue being pulled away from RSD to go to one of these charter schools because people think, oh, it might be better because they're mad about things that are happening with the school board or whatever. But let me tell you, at least when you have a school board, you have accountability there as a voter that you can make changes. You don't have that necessarily in a private school. And personally, just honestly, I don't think our tax dollars should go to private schools. I think that, it's like me saying like, well, you know what? I really don't like the Hickey pool. Like, could you guys pay for me to have a country club membership?
Yeah. Or like, I'm going to build a pool in my backyard.
But I want the tax dollars.
I'm going to let people that I want to come to it. Can you pay like for it?
Right.
Yeah.
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 If I said it about the same as Hickey pool, like, can I get the money from the city?
Yeah. That way. Yeah.
No, so that is a thing, and I just want to mention that briefly. We are going to talk about it more as we get more details on it, but I wanted to talk about it briefly before I complain about the school board, because even though I complain about the school board, I love Russellville School District.
Right. We wouldn't send our send your kid
like
there
school choice. I send my kid there. I live over in Dardanelle. I use school choice to send my kid to Russellville.
My daughter is in Russellville School District, and my son is about to enter into kindergarten in the Russellville School District. So, like, we wouldn't send our kids to that school district if we didn't believe in it's school choice, you know?
Yeah.
One of the mottos of like RSD is basically like, you have school choice and you should choose us.
We want to be the school choice.
We want to be your choice. The school of choice.
Which I think that was a Dr. Gocher thing. But haven't heard that in a while. But anyways, the thing I want to talk about with the school board, though, and this is really frustrating to me. So, the school board typically, how it's operated is it's not like competitive about who's going to be the next board president or who's going to be the next board vice president. Usually they just kind of rotate through whoever's.
Like based on tenure, like who's
been there the longest. Like they're the next one up, unless they just don't want it, right? Sometimes people are like, I don't want it, skip me. But I got a call this morning after, I listened to the board meeting, and then I reached out to some board members, sent an email, started making some calls, and I just found some really concerning things about, now we have a new board president, which is Holly Hall, which was anticipated. Mm-hmm. But typically, based on how they've done it in the past, the board vice president would have been Don Jackamore.
If it was based on tenure.
Like how they've normally done it. And so it was just kind of weird when they talked about it in the meeting. Like, Holly Hall brought it up on the agenda, nominations. And Mr. Wesley White, who I have a great deal of respect for, but, he very weirdly just, jumped out there really fast with the nomination. As soon as she said, open for nomination, she was like, I got nominations. You know what I mean? All right. And people questioned it. Donna Heinzman, one of the board members, was like, what's up with this? This doesn't make sense. This isn't how it typically would go.
Right.
And so I started asking questions, because it was like, this really sounds like this decision was made before this meeting happened, which isn't supposed to take place, right? Like, everything's supposed to happen in a public meeting, and this is a change to how it's typically done. So it's like, how did this happen? Well, I start reaching out, and come to find out, over the weekend before the board meeting, a couple days before the board meeting, board member Don Jackamore had gotten a call from the incoming, soon-to-be school board president, Holly Hall, to let him know that he ain't going to be the VP. And he ain't it. Who the VP is going to be, according to Mr. Jackamore, what he was told by the board president, is that Georgianne Rollins is going to be the VP. Now, she's actually been on the board less time than Mr. Jackamore. But, they rolled into that meeting, and Mr. White jumped out, nominated her and Holly just as fast as could be. And somebody seconded it, same breath. And then when people started to kind of question it, they were just like, Holly was just like, the board can do whatever they want, which is true. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the idea of you just roll it to the next
based
person,
on tenure,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's how they've done it consistently. I mean, obviously, if they were thinking about what voters wanted, Jeremy Keister would have never been school board president, but they didn't care, because they've always done it this way. So they just continue to do it this way, which is fine. But then when you have a board member who has kind of bucked the superintendent, who has disagreed and pushed back on some things, and y'all just decide ahead of time that you're not going to allow him to be VP, you're going to rush out there with the nomination. And not just that, but you're going to tell him several days in advance that he ain't it. Everything about that sounds like a Freedom of Information Act violation to me. Sounds like it should have been happening in a public meeting. Now, I emailed the school board members that were involved. I called Holly Hall and left her a message. She did email me back and said that no decisions are ever made outside of a meeting. And I was like, okay, well, how can you explain why you told him this then? And she said, I didn't say that. So basically, either she's saying that Don Jackamore's lying about the call, or Don is lying about the whole. I don't know.
Or there was some misconception in the conversation.
You're so nice, Nathan.
Well, my point is, if that is what happened, that is very concerning. Because, like you said, it's not supposed to happen that way. Like, the elected officials are not mafia dons. Like, they may do this in other places, but they're still breaking the rules if they do it that way. Like, we can be, we can understand that there have been times that rules have been broken, but there's still rules. If you don't want the rules, write new ones.
Or don't be in that position.
Or don't be in that position.
And here's the thing about it, Nathan, that gets me is, we catch flack sometimes because we're pretty openly progressive, right? Like, we don't hide that. We don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
But so are these people that we're upset with. Like,
right.
I never want to hear anybody say that we're unfair or like we don't go after our own side.
No,
because let me tell you, I am pissed.
When Holly Hall was elected, and I still really like Holly.
On a personal level, absolutely.
Like, I'm super excited that she is and that's why I want to give all benefits of the doubt. I want to know, but again,
are you still super excited?
I'm not a school board member, so I'm not privy to their conversation, and we only have to listen to which, that's why we say this person said this and this person said that.
Yep. So
I support the Russellville School District.
Oh, I do support the Russellville School District.
I want the best of that school. Like, the reason that I care so much about and why it bothers me about this kind of petty stuff is because, I feel like it's beneath.
Oh, so far beneath. You know what?
Yeah.
If you want to be this, and I don't know where this is originating, I will tell you my hunch is that it is not originating with Holly Hall. That's not based. That is my intuition around this, not necessarily.
They may be acting upon someone's direction.
Exactly.
Okay.
But my thing is if you want to be a leader, and this goes for Holly, this goes for McDonald, this goes for anybody. If you want to be a leader, you have to be able to deal with people who disagree with you. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes people who disagree with you are really, really good for government. You know what I mean? That's the thing in government is disagreement is healthy. We shouldn't all just go along with what one person says they want. That's a dictatorship, right? We should have competing ideas. That's the point. And that's why we don't just have one person elected to school board. We have a group of people, an odd-numbered group of people.
Yeah. So
that specifically there is this ability to have debate and come to the best possible conclusion.
And compromise towards a decision. That benefits the most amount of people.
Yes.
That should be the goal.
And to see this where we're starting out now, just had the school board election, continually have flipped seats every election since Gocher was terminated, Holly being one of them.
Right.
Pretty much the entire board has been replaced other than the two people who did not vote to terminate Dr. Gocher.
Yeah.
And to see us starting back up with the same bullshit, I cannot. I have no
I can
patience.
see where they're ready to move on from the negative and the I get it, but this is not how we have said from the very beginning. This is with all humility, but when are people going to start listening to us?
No. Never.
And I'm not again.
No, I get you.
We have at every one of these dramatic from city, county, school board, we have said transparency. It's they're afraid because it says trans before it. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Transparency has nothing to do about your gender. It has everything to do with a big freaking window into what you're doing.
You lost them at trans. Shut it down.
Come on. So to me, that would solve all the problems if there was just like open door policy. Obviously, there are some things that cannot be open door policy. Personnel issues,
student privacy,
like
right? Totally.
with the city, sometimes it's like economic development type stuff,
or like employment issues, right?
Well,
you know, like people have come to us with stuff that's happened in the districts. They're like, "Why haven't y'all talked about this?" We haven't talked about it because the district's handling it appropriately.
Right. Yes.
Right.
When you send us a message about
something bad that happened,
usually it's because we have asked and we have gotten information to say, hey, we can't talk about it, but we're doing stuff.
Right. We see that that the right processes are happening. Because that's the thing. Look, you put a whole bunch of people in a building, kids especially, things are going to happen sometimes.
We're not trying to put the school district on blast.
But when we start out a new term with, I'm going to call you a few days in advance and tell you what's up. You ain't going to be board president or vice president because here's who it's going to be, my pick. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Whether I like the people or not, like that's.
Oh, I don't care about the.
That's what's so frustrating about this. You know, like it's like I really like Holly Hall and I like Georgianne Rollins and I like Mr. Jackmore. Like those are people that I think are good community leaders and could be great for the school district.
But I am rapidly losing respect. I lose respect very quickly for somebody who doesn't have enough fucking backbone to say, I'm not going to do this because it's not right. I'm not going to participate because it's not right. Like, man, if I don't see that happening, and I don't like it. I don't have any respect for it. I may think you're a nice person, but I don't have a lot of respect for that.
It's frustrating because, you know, I've had my ass chewed out 3 ways to Sunday several times a week about people's trash.
Oh God.
And that's my job,
right?
As a city council member.
100.
Or about whether or not the city's praying. You know, like those are issues that are or are not important to people. And when you don't engage with folks, you know, people have come to our council meetings and have preached at us for 3 minutes about what is and isn't important to them. And if you don't, and the agenda prep meetings, like, which gives them more time and more transparency.
Tell them what it's like when you do something that I oppose of. You know what I'm saying? Like,
then I have to deal with her.
He gets it just as bad as, if not worse, than anyone else that's elected.
Y'all don't even know.
If we're on the opposite side, because I'll call Nathan up like, what the is that? Like, I'm over it.
She will definitely call me as
furious
soon as I walk out of the meeting.
Yes. I know. I'll be live streaming. He'll be live streaming. I'm like texting him like, what are you doing?
Someone asked, was there not a vote?
Okay. Yes. That's a good point. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So the motion was made really quickly by Mr. White. There was some discussion back and forth. And then Donna Heinzman made an amended motion, or she made a new motion to say she wanted it to be based on what it typically would be, Holly as president and Don Jackmore as vice president. And
so they had to vote on the amended portion?
Okay, you're
because that's the rules of order.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, Dr. McDonald's assistant said, oh, I don't think that's how it works. You have to vote on the first one, and if it fails, then you can vote on the second one. Right? Okay. So I don't think that was valid, but there was a vote. And here's the thing.
Not looking at the rules right here.
Right, exactly. I know.
Pretty sure if one affects the other, you have to handle the.
You have to, right? But either way. And here's the thing: who the VP of the school board is, ultimately,
it's not that big a deal.
Not that big a deal. Other than that, they'll likely be the president next. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're going to be running around getting paid, they get paid twice the salary of zero.
Well, but what what parameters did they use to make the selection? Because if this sets the precedent that they get together beforehand and decide, did they announce those, because before it was how long you've been here is how we select. What is the caveat now? What is the selection
they
reasoning?
Explained it. They explained they kind of went around in circles around your district versus your next versus Jackamore was nominated, like was, appointed initially. It was a bunch of nonsense. But basically what it came down to, what they said was the board can do what they want, which is true. So somebody asked, this is a good question. They said, did said person call the other members and tell them not to nominate anyone else? Okay, so what I got back in an email this evening from Holly Hall, it was before, she said, this is crazy. Before every board meeting, the acting parliamentarian, the board president or vice president will call each board member to go over parliamentary procedure regarding the agenda. Nathan, if you called everyone on city council to talk to them about the agenda before the meeting, would that comply with the Freedom of Information Act?
No.
It sure wouldn't.
Now, here, what I will say is this. Sometimes, like if I present a bill, the chairperson will ask me questions about would I like to be the one to, to second or to, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that they can, because they don't want to step on my toes or they want to be thoughtful.
Right.
But there's never a are you going to vote for this? Are you going to vote for this?
And no, that's not what she said they're doing. Or to talk
about listen, we got you do the nomination, you do the nomination.
I just have never heard, I have never in my life heard of a committee, an elected body being like, let me call you every time before, once a month, I'm going to call you and just go over Robert's Rules of Order. Are we cool with that? I just want to remind you that before we vote, we have to nominate. We have to make a motion.
Do they do that in any other elected bodies?
Literally nobody does that.
I have a little digital Robert's rule. Here's how you say things.
Right.
Why would you need to do?
She said there are no decisions made regarding any agenda items. They always discuss and vote on any nominations brought forth at the public meeting.
Call on the phone. So there's no
Yeah. So, anyways,
communication thread.
I'm really frustrated to see that this is again kind of where we're at. Same shit. Somebody said, "Can we gift copies of Robert's Rules of Order to all the school board members?" You know what? We cannot. But I would be glad to give them a Freedom of Information Act training. I would be so thrilled to talk to them about what they can and cannot do outside of public meetings. I'd be thrilled, or to help them get guidance from the AG's office, whatever.
Is there not a governing body that's there for local, with the city and county? There are municipal, we have the Arkansas Municipal League for the city, and there's a county version. Is there not an Arkansas Municipal League for? I know there is, and I know they go to these things, but who did someone tell them to do that? This is my frustration. Okay, every time I talk to a school board member, literally any time about any issue. And ask them, why do you do this like this? They say, well, this is how we were trained.
By who?
I'm assuming by their
school board association.
Yeah. But to me, it's that's not how they train city council. And I know that there are different things that they deal with, obviously, but you're still an elected official and you still have to follow much of the same procedural rules.
Yeah. So let's move on to something that has pissed off the rest of the state as much as the school board pissed me off today. The lectern. Let's talk about lectern
gate. So apparently we are a laughingstock, our state, all around the country because our governor bought a lectern. It's a nice looking
$20,000 lectern.
$19,000.
Whatevs.
But where did that money come from? There's been some questions. I'm not too keen on all the specific details.
Initially, the money came from taxpayers. Okay. And then they determined that maybe it shouldn't have, so then the Republican Party paid for it.
But did that cost $19,000, or was there other things involved in that?
Well, they broke it down in the report, and there was more involved in that $19,000. There was a $2,500 consulting fee in there. The whole thing is very wild, but ultimately where it landed is that there is evidence that potentially, I think 7 state laws were broken around procurement and purchasing and records. But then and so they did refer it to the Pulaski County prosecuting attorney, who would be the prosecuting attorney to handle something like that. We don't know yet if there'll be anything filed. But the legislative committee was very interesting to watch because it was a split, right? Like, there's some people who are very clearly like not bothered by this, but there were a lot of Republican lawmakers who had a lot of hard questions, who were very concerned with this. You look at a $19,000 podium. I mean, that's half of most Arkansans' household income for the year.
Right.
People who are making $40,000 a year is very common in Arkansas. Yeah. And you look at a $20,000 lectern and you're just like, what? But
not to mention, taking airplanes that belong to the state police to Super Bowls and
that Super Bowl trip was something.
Yeah.
But, it is a big deal because of the possibility that this is going to be turned over to a prosecutor and move forward through the courts. Is a big deal. Like, I don't think that anybody really thought that would happen. I think we all thought this would be very like, she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Big deal. Yeah.
But I posted a TikTok today. I haven't got all the way through the committee meeting, so it's like 3 hours. I'm about an hour and 45 minutes through it. But I posted a TikTok today because there was this part where the Sarah Sanders chief of staff, they asked him, where is it? Like, where's the podium? We haven't seen it. Where is it? When are we going to use it? Like, and he said
like gold plated, so
right, like it's hit. And he was so funny. He said, "Oh, I mean, it's in the governor's office where it's always been. It's available anytime press is asked to see it. We've shown it to them, but I guess he forgot that like the press is sitting right behind him."
And they all started laughing.
Oh, their faces were hilarious. They were like
what? You never asked.
Yeah. Like, you can see one of the women when he said, it's in the governor's office where it's always been. She went, no, it isn't. Like, I mean, it was just the wildest thing. I'm like, it's not a good idea to lie when the people that know the truth are like literally right behind you on the live stream.
The fifth estate. Fourth, whatever. At this point, like
the fourth estate,
fourth and fifth, because there's one there. There
are 3 branches of government.
Yes.
And journalism is the fourth.
estate. What does this mean? Because like I saw a video that was posted by the governor that was like it was like one of those like.
Pow, like eagles are gonna fly out,
but like also like one of those like pro gun, like come and take it, but it was.
Like that was so funny to me. I'm like, who's trying to take it? I don't think anybody wants it. It's kind of ugly.
Come and take it.
It's built to her specific elbow resting height. They went into detail about how much money they spent for it to be at her
to be custom fit
her
for
custom
her
elbow resting height. I don't think anybody wants to take it, ma'am. You can keep it. The Republicans already paid for it. Please, it's paid for. Please use it. Mm-hmm. Like, quit. We don't have to hide it anymore.
Do you wonder? Okay, so again, this has nothing to do with like the actual situation, but so like Sarah Huckabee Sanders is basically like Arkansas royalty. You know what I mean? Like she grew up in the governor's mansion. Mm-hmm. Like she's got a different way of thinking about
for sure, like
how money is spent. We need a podium. Let's get the best podium because I'm the governor. I'm going to be, you know what I mean? Like, and like no shade in that situation. Like she can't help the way she was raised. Okay. And this is just me spitballing about like developmental psychology,
Okay. Well, I don't mean anything.
So I just wonder, like, is there some thing within her that says like, I can do what I want. The state governor funds are my funds.
I do think that is a thing, right? Like, and I think I don't think that's unique to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I think that is human nature, right? Like if you grew up well off, like if your family always traveled and took really nice vacations, for someone whose only vacation maybe has never been outside of the state.
Right.
Like those seem incredibly lavish,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
But then if you're that person and you're like, okay, we're going on vacation to Hot Springs, they might be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like that's not a vacation, right? It's perspective,
Yeah.
right? And I think that is human nature.
Yeah.
But it is so out of sync and like out of touch with her constituents. Like that's the thing.
Yes,
when
absolutely.
It's government, there's nothing wrong with that when it's like your money, right?
But like that's why I'm saying maybe she just can't see the egregious nature of this. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't have a, like she does.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe she. I mean, I don't think she grew up poor. I'm just saying
she didn't.
Yeah,
no, she didn't.
Like,
and yeah, I think you're probably right. Like the idea of spending, $30,000 on a football party at the governor's mansion doesn't seem like that big a deal to her. But when you're looking at people out here who that's as much as they make working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It seems like a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Like that's a once in a lifetime. Like people spend $30,000 on a car, on a wedding, on a like.
I didn't spend that much on my
but you know what I'm saying? Like those are things that people save on their college education. Like like there's so many things that could pay for.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So what else we got, Nathan? We're getting there.
So cryptocurrency mining. Miss Walker was asking about that at the beginning of our show, and so definitely want to talk about cryptocurrency mining. The state has made some rules about that, and so there was a development in.
There's a lot happening right now with that, this week.
Where are we with that?
Yeah, so the Arkansas legislature is in session for their fiscal session, which is something they do on even numbered years after the primary elections. And they just basically come in and work on the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be zero.
We cannot run a deficit. Right. We have to have a balanced budget. We cannot run a deficit. It's funny because they're like making this big thing of like the governor's balanced budget amendment. And I'm like, it's always a balanced budget amendment.
It's not the first
like
one
it's
to do
required.
That. Yeah.
But okay. But because of that, so during the last legislative session, which happens in odd numbered years, so the last one was in 2023, there was a bill that was run through by a couple of legislators to basically say that local governments cannot regulate crypto mining in their communities, right? And this bill came from a crypto advocacy lobbyist, right? Like with money, dark money kind of group, right? And so they filed that, ran it through kind of in a shady way. Like they didn't really like give everybody all the details, and it passed like 8 days later, right? Well, now the real world consequences of that are coming into play, and we're seeing these like crypto mining places that pop up. They use massive amounts of power and resources off of the like energy grid, but then they really don't provide a lot of jobs. Like there's not a lot of like of anything that's being put back into the economy from having these. So a couple of lawmakers, well, one especially, Brian King, he's a Republican out of Northwest Arkansas. He's filed several resolutions this week to ask them to consider these bills to regulate crypto mining at the local level more. Now, in a fiscal session, they can't just take up any bill. So there has to be an agreement. Yeah, it has to be a resolution passed by the House and the Senate to accept running the bill, and then then the bill has to run, right, and get approved by the House and the Senate and the committees and all that. Well, as Senator King has been working through this process, filing resolutions, getting, slapped down, and then bringing another one back, the lawmakers who originally ran the bad crypto bill have now come back with an amended version that they're trying to run through, which I think does address some of the issues, but certainly does not address all of the issues.
Right, it's kind of like a little Band-Aid.
It's still very favorable, yeah. Mm-hmm. But so anyways, that is happening right now in real time. If you have strong opinions about crypto mining, a lot of people do, especially who live in rural areas and are having to like deal with these in their area.
Yeah, it's like the noise really affects like
so
the
loud,
local
ecology,
the way the animals and the like all of that stuff.
Right.
And the stuff that we care about in the natural state,
but
and the fact that you can't regulate it, like one of the great things about a city council or county board is that, you know, if you need to be able to separate industry from residential, so that you can't just like, you know, you don't want to live next to the rendering plant or the whatever, you know. And so if you can't even do those kind of things regarding sound levels and other, like it's very frustrating. You know, like recently, last year, they said that here are some things that you can do to regulate rental homes, you know, so that you can make sure that your citizens are not being overtly abused by, and we have taken advantage of those here in the city of Russellville, and I would really not want to be told that we can't regulate these crypto farms to a certain extent, like, because I don't want them putting one up in the neighborhood that I live in. You know, so, I can imagine how frustrating it is for folks that live out in the country. Yeah. And it just shows up, you know, 20 acres away.
Yeah. So somebody asked, what are crypto mines? So basically, like, God help me.
Can you got this one?
So basically, some nerds drop a, like, one of those, like, storage containers basically out in these rural areas. That's what it is. They do drop these like big what are those, the like portable like storage buildings? Some nerds drop them out in the country.
A metal building.
Like, you know, like the store, they're like shipping containers. That's what they're for, the shipping containers. And they fill them up with a bunch of computers, and they like run algorithms like all day to mine Bitcoins, right? And like if they do it the right way, they can make a lot of fucking money off of it. But to run all of these computers uses a lot of energy. They get really hot. They have to use like cooling.
Are what use most of the electricity. Yeah.
So look,
you did a great job.
It's loud.
Talking about cryptocurrency.
It's loud and apparently
Emily's over there like, oh my god.
Apparently it mostly. One of the things they argue, which I'm not always a big fan of this argument because I think it is inherently a little racist, but they argue that, you know, these really benefit Chinese corporations out of country. They really don't benefit local economies. Like there aren't local jobs that are created. There's not reinvestment into the community that happens. There's not like money that ends up being circulated back into the local economy.
Well, they don't need a big labor force.
Everything comes out of the local economy instead of putting anything back in like a normal local business.
Support the local infrastructure. Like they just really are just concerned with their own.
And like they can use as much power as like hundreds of homes. In one spot.
And water, you know, a lot of the coolant systems use
water. So that's my my very.
You didn't even talk about like blockchain technology.
We don't need all that.
And the importance of why, you know, how it can work. Okay, so.
Casino. Somebody asked about casino. Let me tell y'all something about casino.
You want
to hear a funny story?
Are we gonna get one?
Shit, I don't know. Yes. But
you heard it right here, folks. What? Shit, I don't know.
I was in Little Rock. I was in Little Rock for work last week, and I was outside Trader Joe's getting my car. God, I love Trader Joe's. And my Northwest Arkansas colleagues come in, and like the Waltons won't let a Trader Joe's into Northwest Arkansas, and so I got to take them all to the one in Little Rock. So anyways, as I was leaving, there was a lady outside with petitions, and I was like, hell yeah, let me sign these petitions. I saw her. She was like hustling. She was trying to talk to people, and they were like walking and going away. So I was like, hey, come here. Like I was yelling at her. I signed your petition.
I'm politically involved.
Right, come here, baby. And my coworker that was with me was like, is there anything we wouldn't sign? And I was like, there's only one, and it's like a paper ballot thing. Other than that, and I don't think that's what she's going to have. Like that's the only one I can think of. We'll be good. She walks up, and I go, what petition you got? And she went, it's for the casino. And I went, I was like, you got the only one. Really, the only one I won't sign.
Because it's the anti-casino group.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, it's just to get it on the ballot. And I'm like, let me. No. I was like, how much
Can I educate you?
How much time do you have today, ma'am?
I know they're just paying you.
I mean, they made a new law, so I can't try to hire you away.
Right, because I would totally do that.
But
for twice the amount of money that you're getting paid.
Because I thought Republicans like capitalism, but apparently not. And not if it doesn't benefit. So, anyways, we had a nice conversation, but haven't seen any around Russellville. Just saw her in Little Rock. She was nice. I mean, she was nice. We had a great conversation. You know, one thing I will say, man, whatever you think about it, like the people who are out collecting signatures, especially for like that, they're paid. They're just doing a job.
Yes, like
they're
don't
just
be
trying to
rude
make a
to
paycheck.
them.
Like it does pay good. It's an opportunity for people who can't often make that much money. Like in an unskilled job, it opens up doors of opportunity. So don't be a jerk.
Right.
But
Just
like
say no, thank you.
Like yeah, we had a great
or-
conversation about it. I think that she will probably vote against that measure if it gets onto the ballot because I was
Good
like,
job educating.
I was like,
folks out
let's
there,
have a
Kristen.
conversation.
Excellent description of crypto, Kristen. Good job. But Cindy says she really appreciated your.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
Because Nathan was making fun of me. I don't know if y'all look. I remember when Nathan tried to explain this to me back on the station that shall not be named.
She snoozed. She was like
37 minutes later, I still didn't know what it was, but I did know it involved nerds, so I carried that forward to this.
Listen, nerds are trying to take over your rural community by having lots of computers create AI to take over the world. That's block. There you go. Crypto.
Josh said he never knew that I liked that.
Wait, did you see my shirt? Made by No Dress Code.
No Dress Code Boutique.
Shout out.
Boutique.
Boutique.
The boutique. Don't have enough I don't have enough serotonin for this shit. That's the facts. Actually, I don't really like the chicks. They aren't called the Dixie Chicks anymore. Grow up. That's my friend Josh. They're the chicks. But Senator Elliott that I work for, she went and saw them at Red Rocks in Colorado, and she brought me this T-shirt back, and I love her, so I'm wearing the shirt. And also, literally, I think I own 2 T-shirts that are not from political campaigns. Like, that's all I have. So, here we
Ozzy,
are.
I think this could be our last question. Ozzy asked a question about annexation. The city of Russellville finally kind of started, the thing that was started 5 years ago that has to be complete before the end of this year, where we talk about annexation. And Ozzy asked if this is passed before the casino is, shovels in the ground or whatever, will the mayor have to write a letter? And the answer is yes. And Mayor Teague has already said publicly that he would write a letter and that he didn't want to go against Judge Cross's decision.
I would caveat that to say the answer is yes if a license is not issued before it goes to the ballot. If a license is issued before it goes to the ballot, before like it's
There
voted on in
doesn't have to
November,
be a
then
letter.
it's
Okay, gotcha.
it's done. You know what I mean? I don't think there has to be a letter. It just will be annexed by the election.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's
For
no
sure.
letter because the license is already done.
And it's all about the specific property that Legends has acquired. Hey, thanks, Jennifer. It definitely doesn't say scrotum. Or as my son would say, onions.
What?
He's 5. He calls his package
Onions?
onions.
That's so funny.
Because his mom got tired of him saying the word nuts. So now he says onions. And it's adorable.
That is precious. He is adorable.
Yes. So yeah, Ozzy, potentially. And like Legends has said that they would, apply for annexation, like they would self.
Oh yeah, like they're on
so
board.
they're not frustrated with this. They kind of were at first because they didn't want there to be any like room for opposition to come in. But the ARC hasn't. We have to make this decision before October.
It has to happen.
And
yeah,
so, there's nothing we can do.
I'm glad that we waited. We didn't do it, in March, which is good. But it is going to have to happen in November. The last thing though on the casino is, did you watch the quorum court meeting from this month? Okay, I did.
I know I'm not as good at watching.
I don't watch city council anymore because of you, unless you tell me drama's happening. But because I'm like, you're there, figure it out, Nathan. Let me know what happens.
But then how can you gripe at me if we do something you don't like?
You'll come back and be like, let me tell you what happened. And I'm like, that's stupid. No, that happens. But on the casino, so they had this meeting, and J.P. Bill Sparks had brought something on the agenda where he wanted to talk about the casino thing, and boy, it got a little testy like at one point. So basically, I didn't know this until this meeting, but basically, I guess Legends, Cherokee Nation, I'm not sure which named entity it is exactly, but one of those entities associated together and bought the old what's that building? There was a call center next to
where it was a U-Haul.
I want to say Axiom, but that's not it. It
used to be Kmart.
Starts with an A.
Yeah, NEW, and then it was
Assurion.
Yeah.
Okay. So they bought that building. Cherokee Nation bought that building, apparently with a plan that once the license is done, they'll give it to the county for administrative offices. But that's not actually included in an EDA at this time.
Which is stupid. Like, okay, sorry. Stupid. I shouldn't say stupid. Like, it's just like they have this really amazing, beautiful building in the courthouse. And they're going to move it over to this, like, 100-year-old
box.
Like,
I don't know that that's
shopping
the case.
mall.
I think it may be like that there are additional offices that need to be there. Not that like nobody's going to be in the courthouse anymore. I don't know, but I can understand they're outgrowing a little bit, need some options, whatever. And it's great that they don't have to put it on taxpayers, right? Like if they have this system where like Cherokee will buy it and give it to them, even better, right? But apparently there were questions from some of the like casino folks. They were like, well, what if this gets on the ballot to remove Pope County, and then what happens with that building? It's like, well, then that's Cherokee's problem, isn't it?
Right.
But then they were kind of going back and forth, like, well, what about the EDA, the Economic Development Agreement?
Or what if Choctaw buys another building and gives it to...
And so they're like, basically it comes down to like, maybe we should just not do anything about anything.
Right.
Until after...
Until they decide if there's actually going to be one.
Till we see if they're going to get this initiative on the ballot.
Yeah.
And then, if they don't, maybe we should just wait until like 2026 to see if they could get it then. I don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't bring that up. But Lane Scott did bring up for about the 800th time, what about tribal sovereign immunity? Literally.
Racist.
He can't help it.
Like, come on.
I mean,
guys,
dude,
it's 2024, okay?
Bro, like that does not apply. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply here.
We're in Russellville, Arkansas. We're not anywhere near a tribe, okay?
Yeah.
Like, stop with these stupid tropes that
are just like made up.
Yeah, like, jeez.
Like that you read on a blog. Stop it. And so, anyways, that all came up. It got very wild. And finally, at one point, Judge Cross was just like, "Are you calling me a liar?" Like, because they were just really like being rude about it. And he just called it out. Like, I was glad he did. But anyways, that meeting was kind of wild. If you're bored and you want to watch it,
go back.
It's good. It's good quality local entertainment.
See, it's funny because like Amanda likes to watch like reality drama stuff, but like why? Because like in real life, there are a lot of these moments that are just
we've turned it into a whole show.
Yeah, like that's that's what we do.
Okay, but speaking of reality show drama, have y'all watched Unlocked on Netflix? The jail thing out of Pulaski County?
Oh, I did start the first episode. Yes.
Y'all get your shit together and watch it. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed.
Like they allowed the prisoners to like govern themselves.
It was really good.
I watched the first episode. I haven't.
I think that sheriff's gonna struggle to get reelected in some cases, but it was really good. I haven't seen the whole thing, so. And it made me it gave me all the feels, and I was like, "Oh, Tiny, I just want to."
Hey, don't ruin it for me. I want to go watch it. Don't.
I'm not, but Tiny's my favorite. Just so you know,
he would be.
Tiny's my favorite. You'll like him. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got.
That's it.
We
don't want nothing else. Hey guys, thank you so much. This was a very engaging episode. Lots of you guys were watching. Please, if you don't care to share this video with your friends, let them know about what's going on locally, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.